Hey everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. If you tune into Mental Health Moment each week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live, welcome back. For those of you who are brand new to Mental Health Moment, welcome, welcome. It's Dr. Hammond here. We are here live every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. And if you are watching the replay on Dr. Nikisha Hammond YouTube, be sure to subscribe, share this video, and like this video as well. So welcome, welcome. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Let me know in the chat where you are tuning in from. Hopefully, I'll be able to see the chat in the comments. I never know with technology. But again, thanks so much for those who are starting to join here. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Apologize running a little behind today because I was playing mom today. um, I was at a basketball game for my son, who super, super, super exciting. Of course, for his school, they're going into the championship game. So they won the semifinals today, which is I probably sound a little bit on the horse side actually because I was cheering. I was cheering them on. But yeah, they made it through the semifinals, which is pretty cool. It was a very close game, but they made it happen. Middle school basketball, good old middle school basketball. And they're headed to the championship game, which is pretty exciting. So that's why I am a bit tardy today. So I apologize for those of you who are like, it's really, really late. Yeah, normally I don't start this late. But again, welcome, welcome. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Hi from Boston. Thanks so much for joining. And again, let me know where you're tuning in. Hi, welcome back from San Francisco. Let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat. For those of you who are new, I reside in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. Sunny Florida. For those of you who know me, I love the sunshine. Not so much a fan of the snow, but it's all good if you're in a snowy climate right now. So welcome, welcome again. Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. For those of you who are new to mental health moment is all about how do you work on becoming the best version of who you are so you can show up powerfully for yourself and for the people around you, which is really important. We talk a lot, extensively, I would say, on this platform about what I call holistic self-care and just how are you growing as a person? How are you working on being a better version of yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally? Because all those components are very important, right? To thinking about your whole self. So, on today's mental health moment, I feel like it's been a theme this year, actually, the last couple months, but I'm going to continue on this journey with you on today's mental health moment, just talking a little bit about how do you handle almost like emotional exhaustion, right? Because we hear a lot about physical exhaustion, which is another part of our well being, of course, extremely important. The physical side. Very important, someone said, yes. But also there's that like emotional exhaustion. And I want to talk to you today about what in the world does that even look like? What does that mean? And how just a couple quick tips of how you can manage that because it's really easy sometimes to sweep things under the rug. But I promise you, when you do that, it'll come back. Your emotions, feelings, and all the things that you may have swept under the rug, it'll come back at some point in your life. And it may come back in an emotional way, with irritability or frustration or anger or whatever type of strong emotions come about, or it could affect you physically. And it could well lead to all sorts of things physically. But either way, hopefully we don't want that to happen, right? So it's important for us to be more aware, right? And thanks for those who are starting to join here. Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Let me know in the chat where you're tuning in from today. And actually, before I give you the couple of quick tips, I always do a couple of quick announcements before I get started. So, yep, someone said, gotta find/make time to replenish yourself. Absolutely. I mean, yes. The last couple books I've written have literally been about that. My mindset training series have literally been about that. And I say that, I do want to say for the person who said that in the comments, just really quickly that I get it. For those of you, we're all at different places in our wellness journey. I really get it personally and professionally. If you're in a space right now where you're like, you know what, I don't know how to replenish myself, or it doesn't make sense to, or I feel like I'm not worthy enough or deserving enough or whatever things that we tell ourselves that are not necessarily true. Um, it's a process to unlearn that. So thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, so a couple quick announcements. One is my new um Resilience Revolution program just started actually last week. So for those of you who signed up, awesome. It's an 8-week program. It is now closed for this particular group. It's the first group, beta group. I'm super excited about it. But I will let you know when it's reopened again for the next class of students. But super excited about that. Mindset training, well, www.mindsettrainingschool.com is where you can get more information. And again, I will let you know because right now it's actually closed for enrollment because we are full for this group. But yes, I'll let you know when it's open again. The other thing, and hi, welcome from Phoenix. And New Orleans is in the house. Welcome. Good evening to you. Actually, Phoenix. Oh, that's so cool. I'll be there. When will I be there? Sometime this summer. The other thing is I do have some upcoming events that are open to the public in April. I believe, yeah, those are the ones that are open to the public. So drnikishahammond.com/events is where my team and I will be updating that page with more information of how to register and that sort of thing. But there will be, like I said, two events open to the public. Most of them are not, but these are. And one is in Tampa and the other, I believe, is in Clearwater. So drnikishahammond.com/events is where you can always go to get, because I know some of you asked, like, where are you going to be in my travels? And you can get that information there. So good evening from Cape Cod. Welcome. Somebody's birthday. Somebody's a happy birthday. I don't know whose birthday it is, but happy birthday, whoever it is in the comments. It's not my birthday, but actually every day is my birthday. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's all good. Happy birthday to whoever it is that you're saying happy birthday to. Good evening. Somebody say good evening. Welcome, welcome. Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Okay. So yes, I think those are all the announcements I have for today for you all. Oh, and actually, if you did register for the International Association of Women's conference that was this past weekend, I hope you enjoyed the conference. It's a really amazing day, just filled with like power pack topics and talking about different things of how to grow and be better women and stronger for ourselves and others. So it was such a great day. Hopefully, some of you got to attend that. I really love speaking at that event because just phenomenal, amazing women. We're all there. It's for International Women's Day this past weekend, and it was really great. It was really awesome. So I know some of you registered, but hopefully you enjoyed that. Okay, so the tips, the tips for today. Number one is it really helps to when it comes to for those of you just tuning in, we're talking about emotional exhaustion, right? Like there's so much going on. It feels like the world is getting busier and busier. I don't know if it's just me, but there's just so much change happening all at once, and it can be really overwhelming. And in addition to possibly physical exhaustion, you may also have emotional exhaustion where you're just shut down emotionally, or the amount of emotional exhaustion that looks like irritability, or it looks like just, kind of lingering anger, or it looks like sadness or anxiety, or whatever way strong emotions pop up for you. That could be from emotional exhaustion. And so one of the things that's really important, something I teach often is really about burnout prevention when I speak to different groups and corporations. And one of the things that's really important for you to recognize is, and I get asked this question very often, is like, how do I know I'm in burnout? Like, how do you know? Right? Like, what are some of the signs? What are some of the things to look for? Hi from Houston. Welcome, welcome. And Dallas is in the house. We got some Texas people in here today. Hey from Dallas. Hey from Houston. Welcome. Um, so one of the things to really think about, and I know it can be hard, especially when you're busy and life is happening, or maybe life is lifing, or whatever it is that's going on. But it's really important to try to make more conscious decisions to be aware of how you are doing. So, like, literally asking yourself, how am I doing physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally? Right. The beginning of this year, hopefully, you made some wellness goals. Uh, you thought about what you wanted to work on for you to be a better version in multiple areas of your life, right? So you thought about that, but I feel like that only happens that happens a lot of times at the beginning of the year because we're all like, "Oh, what are we trying to achieve this year? What are we trying to change?" But we forget about ourselves a little bit for the rest of the year. So it's really important that you have these regular conversations with you, like your check-ins with you, and then once you know, like, oh my gosh, I feel what? Fill in the blank. Like, how are you doing? Like, I feel so sad, or I feel so anxious, or I feel so tired, or I can't sleep, or I can't eat, or I'm eating too much, or I'm sleeping too much. Like, how are you doing? Right. And these different aspects of your life, that's going to be really important to kind of recognize where you're at because it's hard to make changes in our lives if we don't have the self-awareness of what is going on with us at the present moment. And I see this all the time because again, we are distracted. How many of you are distracted? Put yes in the comments. If sometimes you just get distracted, right? Like meaning the news or politics or social media or what's going on with your friends or what's going on with your family or what's going on at work. Like you have so much information coming in that sometimes you get distracted by all these things around you and you accidentally or maybe purposely, I don't know, depending on who you are, start to ignore your well-being, right? So, mental health moment again for those of you who are new is about like how do you work on prioritizing yourself too, right? So you can it's really hard, but you can take in whatever it is that's going on around you and also be more aware of your well-being. Someone said yes. Um, when is the conference? I think if you're talking about the women's conference, it was actually this past it was actually this past weekend. So it already passed, but it was amazing. I see yes with capital YES. And you know what? For those of you who are saying yes, for the record, I'm chuckling because first of all, I am guilty too sometimes of just there's just so much going on and we're just distracted. But what I found to be really helpful, this is gonna be hard for some of you, and it's okay. It's a process to get to that point is not to get into the self-blame game, number one, right? Like not to be like, oh, I can't believe I did that, because then you just spiral into all sorts of negative thinking. But instead, remind yourself you're human, give yourself grace. Know that yes, you're going to get distracted sometimes and work on like shifting that focus away from whatever else right now is taken away from you working on your own well-being. Okay, so that's the first thing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone said, my work environment is so toxic that I'm still in fight or flight mode when I get home. It's hard to let it go when all your favorite coworkers are quitting left and right because of it. Wow. That's hard. That is hard, right? And it's a process. I feel like I say it's a process like 95 times you all on mental health moment. But when it comes to the fight or flight mode, we actually fight or flight mode. We actually talked about this, I don't know, a couple mental health moments ago, I feel like, but it's even more important. First of all, kudos to you for recognizing that. By the way, the person that said that in the comments, like kudos for you for like recognizing I still feel revved up, which is something I hear often actually coming out of work or coming out of a stressful situation. But then the next step is making sure, and this is for everyone, not just for the person in the comments, but for everyone, when you know that and you catch yourself in that mode to work on something that is calming for you to get your mind and body back into a calmer state. There's like so much research right now that's showing more and more about when our bodies are in that fight or flight mode like on a frequent basis, which it's not supposed to be, that it leads to a lot of chronic, not just mental health, but also physical health conditions, right? There's like plenty of studies on it. If you look up fight or flight mode chronic, like right. So I'm not saying to quit your job. Nobody's saying that, right? Please, not some certain things we can't avoid certain stressors, right? So I'm not gonna sit here and tell any of you like, oh, just leave your job or just leave this whatever situation. There's certain situations you just can't leave. But what you can do, like I said, when you get home, for example, from that stressful work environment or the stressful coworker or whomever it is you work on, okay, how can I bring down my blood pressure, bring down my anxiety, or bring down my agitation or whatever it is that you're feeling. And one of the ways to do that is what's called a restorative practice, which is actually my other tip for you all today. To make sure you're getting into restorative practices for your mind and your body. So, for example, so for me, and some of you already know this who are not new to mental health moment, but actually, I do a ton of restorative practices because it's not as if my schedule is any lighter. It's actually, I don't know. I feel like it gets busier and busier each year. I don't know how that happens. Um, but though with all that stress and running around and all the different projects and things that I'm involved with, I know that I have to have more restorative practices, meaning my morning routine's very extremely intentional at this point, right? So I'm not waking up and going straight to my cell phone, going straight to emails, going straight to doing this and that. I that's not how my mornings are. So the first thing I want to do is, well, for me is my gratitude practice. Like as soon as I wake up in the morning, open my eyes, it's like, okay, what am I grateful for today? My other thing is doing my devotional, and that, I respect every religious belief or not, whatever it is that you believe. It's not the point. But for what I do, it's, going into devotional, going into prayer, taking some deep breaths, taking a minute to just be in a calm state. And that's just the start of my day. And then throughout the day, depending on the day, because some days are just a lot going on, right? We all have that. Just depending on the day, I might have to add in more restorative practices. Just if it's a really hectic, busy day, like, okay, let me make sure I'm taking my deep breaths. Let me make sure, like, I have my cup of tea, which for me is very calming. Let me make sure I watch the sunrise, or probably not sunrise, but like the sunset, or pay attention to some beautiful thing happening in the environment or in nature or something like that. But it's making the mindset shift to know, like, okay, let me take down my whatever it is, the anxiety or the stress, all that sort of thing. Um, um, yeah, someone said, start looking into what you need to do to make a change for yourself. Oh, I think you're talking to someone else. Yeah, feeling stuck is horrible. And the other thing is, so I know the person mentioned in the comments about their work environment, but think about for you all, like there's something in your life that puts you into a fight or flight mode, something, right? So, and again, certain things you may or may not be able to reduce your amount of time in that setting or not, um, around that toxic person or coworker or whomever it is. But you can again work on, if it's especially if it's the beginning of the day, I would recommend, and also whether it's middle of the day, before you go to bed at night, like throughout the day, starting to put those restorative practices together, whether it's meditation, whether it's, my favorite is taking a minute, the 60-second pause out of your day, or whatever it is for you, taking the deep breaths is free to take some deep breaths. All right. We've talked about that numerous times on Mental Health Moment, but doing that again in order to get your mind and body back into a calmer state. Right. And I do want to say that, since somebody brought that up about fight or flight, that it is very normal to be in fight or flight. I mean, it's for your safety sometimes and your survival. Obviously, if you're in danger, your heart rate's going to go up, you're going to sweat, or you're going to be nervous, or whatever it is. You may need to get out of the situation, like whatever it is. That is a normal response, but it's just not healthy to constantly be in that state day after day. That's not a healthy. It's just not healthy for your mind and body. Um, so I want you definitely to remember that when we think about it again today, we're talking about emotional exhaustion. And what do you do for that? One of the things you do is work on getting more into the restorative practices. And then the third and final tip I want to leave, you're welcome. The third and final tip I want to leave for you today, when if you are right now, not right now, the second, but have been or ever experienced emotional exhaustion, is I want you to also think about, like, how do you set boundaries for yourself? And this is such, I don't know, I feel like I've talked at length about setting boundaries in a lot of different spaces when it comes to mental health. But this is something that, this can be, you can change this over time. Like whatever is important to you for your mental health, for your own wellness, what does that look like for you? Right. And it changes, right? Like right now, I'm a mom of a 12-year-old son. My boundaries are different than before I was a parent. My boundaries are going to be different when he leaves for college one day. Like it's and it doesn't just have to do with parenting, but throughout your life, where you're at, what season you're in, your boundaries change, which is normal and it's okay, but it's important to honor yourself with whatever boundaries it is that you set for you, right? Like what is it for you that you need to set? And when I say set a boundary, I mean that could literally be, be almost anything, right? So what's important to you? What do you prioritize? What is non-negotiables for you? What do you maybe need to reduce your time around certain people or certain situations? What makes you a healthier person? How can you protect your energy? Like those are the type of questions that when you start to ask yourself and it becomes a habit to ask yourself those things before you make certain decisions, that can really help with reducing some of the emotional exhaustion. Okay. So, someone said, love these reminders. Awesome. I'm glad they're helpful. So I want you to think about those couple of things that I mentioned today. And for those of you who are coming in late or maybe just got here, we've been talking about how do you handle emotional exhaustion, right? So a couple ways again. Well, first of all, is understanding what are the signs of that and understanding if you're at the point where you're going to hit burnout, how are you sleeping? How are you eating? How are you feeling? How are you dealing with work or how are you dealing with family or friends or, the things you enjoy doing? Like there's just so many things to be thinking about. Do you feel like yourself or are you just so mentally and emotionally drained? Right? Like where are you at? And really becoming more aware and not just for today, listening on today's mental health moment, but like letting allowing yourself to make that a habit and to work on your self-awareness. And sometimes and so I'm reading your comments. And sometimes though, you may be like, you know what, I've tried self-help things, if you will, at home. I've tried different things with my friends and it's not enough. And sometimes, which is okay, like you could get to the point where you're like, I really need to reach out to a mental health professional, which is okay. I know there's a stigma. I get it. I've been in the field for a long time. It is okay to reach out to a mental health professional. It is okay to have a coach. It is okay to have a mentor. It is okay to have a source of support in your life. You don't have to always do this on your own. Again, I'm giving you some of the tips, but sometimes the emotional exhaustion could just be just too much. You're like, I'm so overwhelmed. This is too much. I've tried on my own. Reach out and connect with someone because that can be helpful too. And I support looks different depending on who you are and what space you're in. Mental wellness, mental health, there's a whole spectrum of things. So, we all are at different places in our wellness journey. But again, I want to remind you that it is important, again, to take that extra step sometimes. And again, reach out. Maybe you need a mental health professional or a mentor or a coach or a family member or friend or somebody to just help you through. If you're just so emotionally exhausted and drained, that's okay. That's allowed. You don't have to do everything on your own. So I want to hopefully speak to the person that may be in that place of like, you know what? Yeah, I need someone to help me through this. It's okay. It is okay. We don't always we don't always have to be our own superheroes. Like we're allowed to have superheroes and awesome, amazing, supportive people around us too. So don't forget that. Someone said, don't take beep off of anyone, especially weaponized tears. That's a brand new non-negotiable for me. Good for you. Good for you. And that's the thing. Again, we all have a different set of boundaries. Like it is what works best for you. It is what it may not be the thing for your friend or your brother, sister, or whomever else around you, but for you, if that is what you need, a healthy thing for your mental health and your wellness, then that is you. And then you work on over time, just protecting that space, protecting that energy, setting and honoring the boundaries that you're setting because some people are going to push up against it. That's just nature, right? Or some people don't want to honor your boundaries, which then that becomes a different conversation, a whole nother mental health moment. But it is important for you to be thinking about how do I continue to honor myself. Hello from Greenville, North Carolina. Welcome. Uh, Someone was saying, I think you were talking to someone else. Okay, never mind. I was reading the comments here what you were saying, but you were talking to someone else. All good. Okay, but again, so I'm going to leave you with those with those couple of tips today, again, to be thinking about that. Be thinking about your restorative practice, which is just a very fancy name for your self-care, right? Like making sure you're making yourself a priority. I talk to a lot of organizations and people that say they have a lot of guilt surrounding that, which probably needs to be a whole mental health moment, actually. I'm noting to myself, but it takes time, but you can work and you can make the mental health shift to not feel guilty about taking care of yourself, especially when you're in a place of this heavy emotional exhaustion. It's even more important for you to be taking care of yourself, or physical exhaustion too, but today we're talking about emotional exhaustion. But it is even more important for you to be taking care of yourself, right? And honoring yourself, having the restorative practices, making sure to take the time for you, protecting your energy, honoring your boundaries. All those things are really important. Someone said, I found my peace to be my power. Smiley face. Mental health is super high on my daily check-in. Thank you so much for this time. Great to be here. I'm so happy to have you here. And like, that makes me so happy, by the way, that you said that mental health is super high on your daily check-in. That makes me elated to hear that from you. And I hope for many of you watching this, that does, like, that does become your place. Like that person that just wrote that there, that, like, you're really thinking and filtering decisions and actions that you take in your life based on your mental health and what is best for you. And I do say this from a place, for those of you who are not new to mental health moment, you know already, but for those of you who are new, I do say this from a place where I did not, like, there was many, like the majority of my life, where I was not taking care of myself because, like, there was just there was just really no space for that. So everything had to be like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's on the to-do list? What's the next thing? Not taking care of my sleep, not taking care of my health, like just go, go, go mentality, and just really forgetting about how important it was to make sure that I was physically and emotionally and mentally taking care of myself. And fast forward to today, that's just not the life I live. Is there stress? Of course. Do I have the perfect life? Of course not. Right? That's not the point. I cannot have any magic wand to make any of you all have a perfect life. I wish I could. Right? But we're not trying to do that. But it's a matter of making yourself a priority, working on living a healthier life, and knowing that you deserve that, and knowing that your life will change when you take those healthy steps towards that direction. Um, so so, thank you all for joining today. We went over time a little bit, but it's all good. I actually get so excited when I can actually see your comments, because sometimes technology does whatever it does and I can't see half your comments, which makes me sad because I like to read your comments. So, thank you for sharing. I will be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Uh, no, I don't think there's any basketball tournaments next week. So I will be back Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. Have an amazing rest of your week. Be blessed. Be sure to put something into place to make sure you're taking care of yourself this week and every week. And I'll be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great week.